The metal chair creaked as Commander Jake Morrison sat down across from the prisoner. The room was white and cold, with cameras watching from every corner. Jake had seen many dangerous beings in his 20 years of service, but nothing like this. Alien sat perfectly still behind the energy barrier. Its body looked like it was made of blue crystal, tall and thin like a twisted tree. Light moved through its skin in slow waves. 2 large black eyes stared at Jake without blinking. This was Zixthala, the last living member of the Corvani Empire. Dr. Lisa Grant checked her recording equipment one more time. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. For 6 months, she had tried to get this alien to speak. Today felt different, somehow. Captain Ben Turner stood by the door with his hand near his weapon. He was a big man with scars on his face from the war. Like everyone else on the station, he had lost friends to the Corvani. The alien in front of them had helped kill billions of humans. Jake looked at the translation device on the table. The small box would turn the alien sounds into words they could understand. After months of silence, Zixthala had finally agreed to talk. "Why now?" Jake asked. "Why are you willing to speak after all this time?" The alien's body flashed with brighter blue light. When it spoke, the sound was like breaking glass mixed with wind. The translation box made the words clear and cold. "Because I have seen the end of everything I knew," Zixthala said. "My empire ruled the stars for 3,000 of your years. Now it is dust. I am the only one left to tell the story of how it fell." Lisa leaned forward in her chair. This was what she had been waiting for. "Tell us about the first time your people met humans." The alien was quiet for a long moment. The light in its body grew dimmer, like a flame going out. "We found your world. 50 years ago," it began. "Your sun was just another star to us. We had no reason to think it would be special. The Corvani Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds. Yours would be just one more." Jake remembered the stories his grandfather told him about those days. Earth in 2087 was still healing from wars and pollution. Humans were just starting to build colonies on Mars and the Moon. They had simple rockets and basic computers. Nothing that could threaten a galactic empire. "What did you think when you first saw us?" Jake asked. Zixthala's eyes seemed to look right through him. "We thought you were insects. Weak, stupid insects that barely knew how to leave their own world. We had seen thousands of species like yours. They all ended the same way." The alien paused and the room grew very quiet. Even the hum of the machine seemed to stop. "We were so very wrong." Ben shifted by the door. His jaw was tight with anger. Jake held up a hand to keep him calm. "Your people were divided into many small groups," the alien continued. "You fought each other over land, resources, beliefs. This made you seem even weaker to us. United species were harder to break. Divided ones fell quickly." Lisa made notes on her tablet. "But humanity wasn't divided when you attacked, was it?" "No," Zixthala said, and for the first time, something like surprise came through the translation. "That was our first mistake. We thought your wars made you weak. We did not understand that they had made you strong." Jake knew this part of the story well. When the Corvani ships appeared in Earth's sky, something amazing happened. All the fighting between nations stopped in a single day. Old enemies became allies. Every human military force joined together against the alien threat. "We studied your history before the attack," the alien said. "You had been fighting each other for thousands of years. We expected you to surrender quickly or keep fighting among yourselves. Instead, you did something we had never seen before. What was that?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. "You became one people. In the space of days, there were no more separate nations on your world. There were only humans, and we were the enemy of all humans." The alien's light pulsed faster now, as if the memory disturbed it. "Our fleet commander, War Master Kethver was certain your unity would not last. He had broken species like yours before. A few displays of power, some destroyed cities, and they always begged for mercy. Ben made a sound like a growl. His home city had been one of those destroyed in the first attacks. 2 million people had died in minutes. But your people did not beg, Zixthala continued. They did not even seem afraid. They looked at our great ships and our weapons, and they began to plan how to fight us. Jake felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. Pride for what humanity had achieved, sadness for what it had cost. The War Master sent the usual surrender demand to your leaders, the alien said. Submit to the Empire, and your deaths would be quick and clean. Fight us, and we would make your species suffer for generations before the end came. Lisa looked up from her notes. How did humanity respond? They sent back a single word, Zixthala said. The translation box was quiet for a moment, as if it couldn't understand what the alien was saying. Then it spoke one word that made all three humans smile. No, the alien shifted in its chair, the crystal body making small ringing sounds. Not. We surrender, or please have mercy, or we need time to consider. Just no. Such a small word, but it carried the voice of your entire species. Jake remembered hearing about that message as a child. President Martinez had sent it on behalf of every human government. One word that changed everything. War Master Kethver was amused, the alien continued. He had expected fear or anger or desperate bargaining. Simple defiance was refreshing. He decided to make an example of your world that would echo across the galaxy for centuries. The room grew cold despite the heating systems. Everyone knew what came next in the story. That was when we learned. Our second lesson about humans, Zixthala said. You do not simply fight back. You fight back in ways that make no sense. Ben stepped closer to the barrier. What do you mean? The alien looked at him with those black, empty eyes. We destroyed your military bases first, standard procedure. Then we waited for your government to surrender. Instead, your civilians began attacking our ships with mining equipment and farming tools. Your children threw rocks at our soldiers. Your elderly people set off explosives in their own homes when we tried to capture them. Jake felt his throat tighten. Those had been dark days for humanity. We had never seen anything like it, the alien whispered. An entire species that refused to accept defeat. It was terrifying and wonderful and completely insane. The recording. Equipment hummed quietly in the background, capturing every word. This was the story that needed to be told, Jake realized. Not just how humanity won the war, but how they had changed what it meant to fight in the first place. The alien's crystal body dimmed as it continued speaking. Jake Morrison leaned forward in his chair, watching every movement. Dr. Lisa Grant's fingers moved quickly across her tablet, recording everything. Captain Ben Turner remained by the door, his face hard as stone. Tell us about the first real battle, Jake said quietly. Zixthala was silent for a long moment. The lights under its skin moved slower now, like blood through dying veins. Mars, it said finally. We decided to crush your colony there first. It was small, maybe 50,000 humans. We thought it would be easy. Show the rest of your species what happened to those who defied us. Lisa looked up from her notes. What made you choose Mars? It was far from your main world, the alien replied. Your people there had no way to escape. No reinforcements could reach them in time. It should have been perfect for what we planned. Jake knew this story well. Every human child learned about the Battle of Mars in school. It was where everything changed. Colonel Amy Rodriguez was in charge of the defense, Zixthala continued. A small woman with fire in her eyes. We intercepted her communications to Earth before we attacked. The alien paused, its light flickering. She told your leaders that Mars would not surrender. She said her people would fight until the last breath left their bodies. We thought this was just brave words before death. Ben made a low sound in his throat. His brother had been on Mars during the attack. He was one of the few who made it out alive. Our fleet arrived at Mars with overwhelming force, the alien said. 20 warships against your tiny colony. We broadcast the usual demands. Surrender now and die quickly. Fight us and suffer. Jake could picture it in his mind. The massive Corvani ships hanging in space above the red planet like metal sharks. The small human settlements below, looking up at certain death. What was Rodriguez's response? Lisa asked. She opened a channel to our fleet commander, Zixthala. Sighed. The woman appeared on our screens in her military uniform. She was calm, like she was discussing the weather. The alien's voice became softer, almost respectful. She said that humans had come to Mars to build a new world. She said they would not run away from their home just because monsters had come to take it. Then she cut the transmission and prepared for battle. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard these words before, but hearing them from the enemy made them more powerful somehow. We began our attack with precise strikes on military targets, the alien continued. Standard procedure. Destroy their weapons, break their spirit, then accept their surrender. Ben stepped closer to the energy barrier. But that's not what happened, is it? No, Zixthala said, and something like wonder crept into its translated voice. Your people did something we had never seen in 3,000 years of conquest. The alien's body flashed brighter for a moment. They scattered like seeds in the wind. Every human on Mars disappeared into the colony tunnels, the mining shafts, the underground cities. When our ground forces landed, they found empty buildings and silent streets. Lisa frowned. Empty? That is what we thought at first. The alien said. Our soldiers moved through the settlements, looking for humans to capture. Everything seemed abandoned. Then the attacks began. Jake leaned back in his chair. This was the part of the story that made the Corvani so afraid of humans. It started small, Zixthala continued. A mining laser cutting through the armor of a transport vehicle. An explosion in a building that killed a patrol squad. Our commanders thought it was just desperate survivors making hopeless gestures. The alien's light pulsed faster now, but the attacks kept coming. Every day, more of. Our soldiers died. Your people turned everything into weapons. Construction equipment became tanks. Medical supplies became bombs. Even your farming tools were used to kill us. Ben's face showed a grim smile. His brother had told him about those days. How ordinary. Colonists became soldiers overnight. The worst part was not knowing where the next attack would come from, the alien said. Your people fought like ghosts. They would strike and then vanish back into their tunnels. We controlled the surface of Mars, but beneath the ground, the humans ruled. Lisa made more notes. How long did this go on? Months, Zixthala replied. We had expected to conquer Mars in days. Instead, we found ourselves trapped in a war we did not understand. Every victory felt hollow because the humans never stopped. Fighting, Jake knew the numbers. The Corvani had landed with 10,000 soldiers. By the end, less than half remained alive. Lieutenant Danny Wall showed us how dangerous humans could be when cornered, the alien continued. He was just a cargo pilot, not even a real soldier. But when we cornered his ship near the mining stations, he did something unthinkable. The room grew quiet. Everyone knew this story. He loaded his cargo hold with mining explosives and flew directly at our command ship, Zixthala said. No hesitation, no fear. He spoke into his radio as he approached. Tell my family I love them. Tell Earth that Mars will never surrender. Ben closed his eyes. Those had been Danny's last words. The explosion destroyed our command ship and killed 300 of our best warriors, the alien said. One human, in one small ship, had done. What our enemies' entire fleets could not do. Jake felt the familiar mixture of pride and sadness. Pride for human courage, sadness for the cost. That was when we began to understand, Zixthala continued. This was not a normal war. Your people did not fight to win. They fought because they refused to lose. Lisa looked up from her tablet. What do you mean? Other species fight for territory, for resources, for power, the alien explained. When they realize they cannot win, they surrender to save what they can. But humans fight for something different. The alien was quiet for a moment, as if searching for the right words. You fight for the right to exist as free beings. You would rather die than live as slaves. This made you more dangerous than any weapon we had ever faced. Jake thought about all the humans who had died on Mars, miners and farmers and teachers, who had become heroes because they refused to give up. The siege of Mars lasted 8 months, Zixthala said. In the end, we held the surface, but the humans still controlled the underground. They had turned the entire planet into a fortress. Ben opened his eyes. What made you finally leave? The alien's light dimmed almost to nothing. Admiral Karen Brooks arrived with a human fleet, it said. Ships built in secret in the asteroid belt. We thought we were fighting a few thousand colonists. Instead, we discovered we were facing the full fury of an awakened species. Jake smiled grimly. The rescue of Mars had been humanity's first real victory in space. Your Admiral Brooks did not just drive us away, the alien continued. She captured 3 of our ships and dozens of prisoners. For the first time in our history, the Corvani Empire had been defeated in open battle. The recording equipment hummed quietly in the background. This was the moment when everything changed, Jake realized. When humanity stopped being prey and became predators. Jake Morrison watched as the alien's crystal body grew brighter again. Zixthala seemed to be gathering strength for the next part of its story. Dr. Lisa Grant had filled pages of notes, and Captain Ben Turner looked more interested than angry. Now the war changed after Mars, the alien said. We thought we were still fighting a small, weak species. But humans had been learning from every battle, every defeat. Jake knew this was true. His own training had been based on lessons learned from those early fights. Human military academies now taught courses on adaptive warfare, all based on what people had figured out during the Corvani invasion. Tell us about the technology, Lisa said. How did humans advance so quickly? Zixthala's light pulsed in what might have been the alien version of a laugh. Dr. Helen Clark, it said. That name still brings fear to what remains of my people. She was your greatest weapon, and we did not even know she existed for years. Ben frowned. A scientist was your greatest threat? She was more than a scientist. The alien replied. She was a human who could look at our technology and understand it faster than we thought possible. Every ship we lost, every weapon you captured, she would take apart and learn from. Jake remembered reading about Dr. Clark in the history books. A small woman who worked 20 hours a day in secret laboratories, reverse engineering alien technology while the war raged around her. The first time we saw human ships using our own weapon systems, we thought you had captured more equipment than we realized, Zixthala continued. But then we saw something that made our commanders panic. The alien paused, its light dimming. Your ships were not just using our weapons. They were using improved versions of our weapons. Dr. Clark had made them better. Lisa looked up from her notes. Better how? More powerful. More efficient. Easier to repair, the alien said. She took our technology and fixed problems that we had lived with for centuries. It was like watching children teach their parents how to walk. Jake felt a surge of pride. Humans had always been good at taking existing ideas and making them better. It was how they had survived on Earth for thousands of years. But technology was not your only advantage, Zixthala said. General Peter Stone showed us something even more frightening. Ben straightened up. Stone was a legend among human military officers. He had written the book on fighting superior alien forces. Stone took everything we thought we knew about warfare and turned it upside down, the alien continued. We were used to fighting other empires like us. Big fleets, massive battles, clear winners and losers. The alien's body flashed brighter. Stone made us fight a different kind of war. He spread your forces across hundreds of systems. Every asteroid belt became a hiding place for human ships. Every space station became a potential ambush point. Jake nodded. He had studied Stone's tactics. At the academy, the general had realized that humans could not win by fighting the Corvani the way the Corvani wanted to fight. So he changed the rules. The worst part was that we never knew where you would strike next, Zixthala said. Captain Steve Miller would attack our supply lines in one system, while Major Julie Brooks hit our communications in another. You fought like a disease spreading through our empire. Lisa made more notes. How did this affect your forces? Our soldiers became afraid. The alien admitted. For 3,000 years, Corvani warriors had been the terror of the galaxy. Now they jumped at shadows and saw humans in every dark corner of space. Ben smiled grimly. Good. Major Brooks was especially dangerous, the alien continued. She did not just attack our ships and bases. She attacked our ideas. Jake frowned. What do you mean? She went to the worlds we had conquered and spoke to the slave races, Zixthala explained. She told them that the Corvani Empire could be defeated. She showed them human weapons and human tactics. The alien's light pulsed faster now, as if the memory still disturbed it. For 3,000 years, no one had successfully rebelled against us. The conquered species accepted their fate because they thought resistance was hopeless. Brooks changed that. Lisa looked up from her tablet. She started uprisings? Worse, the alien said. She created hope. Hope is the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. Once a slave species believes they can be free, they become impossible to control. Jake knew this part of the story well. By the third year of the war, half the Corvani Empire was dealing with rebellions. Human advisors were teaching alien slaves how to fight for their freedom. The Zalani were the first to join you, Zixthala continued. They had been our slaves for 800 years. Peaceful, obedient, broken. Then Brooks arrived on their world with a small team of humans. The alien was quiet for a moment. Within months, the Zalani had destroyed every Corvani installation on their planet. They used human tactics, human weapons, human determination. They fought like humans. Ben looked impressed. The Zalani were known throughout the galaxy now as fierce warriors. It was hard to believe they had once been slaves. After the Zalani, other species began to rebel, the alien said. The Thrakuri, the Voss, the Centauri colonies. Each uprising was led by humans or trained by humans. You were not just fighting us anymore. You were teaching the galaxy how to fight us. Jake felt a chill. This was when the Corvani Empire had really begun to fall apart. Not from human attacks alone, but from the collapse of their entire system of control. Our leaders tried to stop the rebellions with increased force, Zixthala said. But this only made things worse. Every act of cruelty created more rebels. Every destroyed world brought more species to your side. Lisa frowned. Why didn't the Corvani just negotiate? The alien's light flickered in what might have been confusion. We did not know how, it admitted. The Corvani Empire had only two ways of dealing with other species: conquest or destruction. We had never learned to compromise or make peace. Jake realized this was a crucial point. The Corvani were powerful, but they were not flexible. They could only respond to problems the way they always had. Humans were different. The alien continued. You could fight like demons when you had to, but you could also show mercy to defeated enemies. The rebel species trusted you because you treated them as equals, not as tools. Ben nodded slowly. This was something he had seen firsthand during the war. Human commanders often fought alongside alien allies, sharing the same risks and dangers. By the 4th year of the war, we were no longer fighting one species, Zixthala said. We were fighting an alliance of dozens of races, all united. Under human leadership, all using human tactics, all believing in human ideas about freedom. The alien's voice grew softer. That was when our high command realized the truth. We had not just awakened a sleeping giant. We had awakened an entire galaxy. And humans had shown them how to fight back. Jake leaned back in his chair. The war had started as a simple invasion. It had become something much bigger. A revolution that changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The end was coming, Zixthala said quietly. We could all feel it. The great Corvani Empire, rulers of the stars for 3 millennia, was dying. And it was dying because of a species we had thought too weak to matter. The silence in the room stretched for long minutes. Zixthala sat perfectly still, its crystal body dim like a dying star. Jake Morrison could see that telling this story was painful for the alien, but he needed to hear the end. Tell us about the final battle, Jake said gently. Tell us about your homeworld. The alien's light flashed once, bright and sharp like lightning. Korvac Prime, it whispered. The heart of our empire. The world that had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. We thought it was impossible to reach, impossible to conquer. Dr. Lisa Grant stopped writing and looked up. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. Admiral Tony Garcia commanded the human fleet, Zixthala continued. But it was not just human ships that came to our world. The entire galaxy had turned against us. Captain Ben Turner moved closer to the energy barrier. His eyes were bright with interest. Zilani warships flew alongside human destroyers. Thrakari fighters protected human carriers. Voss cruisers and Centauri battleships, all under human command. The largest fleet in galactic history, united by human leadership. Jake could picture it in his mind. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all working together against their former masters. Our orbital defenses were the strongest in the galaxy, the alien said. Weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets. Shield generators that had never been broken. We thought they would stop any attack. The alien paused, its light pulsing. Slowly, Admiral Garcia did not try to break through our defenses. Instead, he did something we never expected. Lisa frowned. What? He asked us to surrender. The 3 humans looked at each other in surprise. Jake had never heard this part of the story before. A surrender demand? Ben asked. After everything you had done? Garcia opened a communication channel to our high command, Zixthala explained. He appeared on our screens in his uniform, calm and respectful. He said that the war could end without more death. The alien's voice grew softer. He offered terms. The Corvani Empire would be dissolved. All slave worlds would be freed. War criminals would face trial. But ordinary Corvani citizens would be allowed to live in peace. Jake felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride that humans had offered mercy, but also anger at the thought of letting the Corvani escape justice. What was your leader's response? Lisa asked. They laughed, the alien said bitterly. High Commander Vexter thought it was a joke. The idea that insects from a backward world would offer terms to the masters of the galaxy seemed ridiculous. Ben shook his head. They refused? Worse than refused, Zixthala replied. Vexter sent back a message promising to hunt down every human in the galaxy. He said your species would be enslaved for 1,000 years as punishment for your rebellion. Jake felt his jaw tighten. The Corvani had been given a chance for peace and threw it away. That was their final mistake, the alien continued. Garcia closed the communication channel and gave the order to attack. But this was not like our previous battles. The alien's light began to pulse faster. Lieutenant Maria Santos led the first wave. Boarding pods launched from human ships, carrying teams of soldiers from dozens of species. They did not try to destroy our orbital platforms. They captured them. Lisa looked confused. Captured them? Your people had learned to fight like US, but they had not become like us, Zixtala explained. They could have destroyed our defenses and killed everyone aboard. Instead, they took prisoners and turned our own weapons against us. Jake nodded. This was classic human tactics. Use the enemy's strength against them. Within hours, our orbital defenses were firing on our own ships, the alien said. The platforms we had built to protect Korvac Prime became the instruments of its conquest. Ben smiled grimly. Poetic justice. Sergeant John Parker led the ground assault, Zixtala continued. But again, this was not what we expected. Your forces did not simply attack our cities. They surrounded them and demanded surrender. The alien was quiet for a moment. Parker spoke to our civilian population directly. He broadcast messages saying that ordinary Corvani would not be harmed if they did not fight. Only the military and government leaders would face justice. Jake felt another surge of pride. Even in the final battle, humans had tried to minimize casualties. Many of our people laid down their weapons, the alien admitted. For 3,000 years, they had been told that defeat meant death or slavery. Parker showed them that humans fought for justice, not revenge. Lisa made notes quickly. What about your military? We fought to the end, Zixtala said. But we were fighting the entire galaxy now. Every tactic we used, they had an answer for. Every weapon we deployed, they had a counter for. The alien's light dimmed again. The battle for the Imperial Palace lasted 3 days. High Commander Vexter refused every surrender offer. He said he would rather see the galaxy burn than bow to inferior species. Ben leaned forward. How did it end? Parker's soldiers breached the throne room on the 3rd day, the alien said. Vexter drew his ceremonial blade and challenged Parker to single combat. He said it was a matter of honor. Jake held his breath. This was history in the making. Parker could have shot him down, could have ordered his soldiers to kill the High Commander. Instead, he accepted the challenge. The room was completely silent now. The fight lasted only minutes. Parker was younger, faster, and had been trained by the best warriors in the galaxy. But when Vexter fell, Parker did something that shocked everyone watching. Lisa looked up from her notes. What? He offered medical aid to his fallen enemy, Zixtala said. Even as Vexter cursed him with his dying breath, Parker tried to save his life. Jake felt tears in his eyes. This was what made humans special. Even in victory, even against their worst enemies, they could show compassion. That was when I understood, the alien continued. Humans had not conquered us through superior weapons or numbers. They had conquered us because they were better than us. Ben frowned. Better how? You fought for freedom instead of power, Zixtala explained. You built alliances instead of empires. You showed mercy to enemies who had shown you none. You proved that strength without wisdom is just destruction. The alien looked directly at Jake. When the battle was over, Admiral Garcia made another broadcast, not just to the Corvani, but to the entire galaxy. He said that the age of empires was ending. No species would rule over another. All would be free to choose their own destiny. Lisa wiped her eyes. And that's how the Galactic Republic was born. Yes, the alien said. Built on human ideas, but governed by representatives from every species. Even us, the defeated Corvani, were given a voice in the new order. Jake looked at the broken creature before him. The last survivor of a fallen empire, kept alive by the mercy of those it had tried to destroy. "Why are you telling us this story?" he asked. Zixthela's light pulsed one final time. "Because the galaxy needs to remember," it said. "Humans did. Not just win a war, you changed what it means to be powerful. You showed us that true strength comes from lifting others up, not keeping them down." The alien was quiet for a long moment. "Your species faces new challenges now. New enemies who do not understand what you have built. They see your mercy as weakness, your compassion as foolishness." Jake felt a chill. Reports had been coming in about hostile forces at the galaxy's edge. "Remember this story," Zixthala said. "Remember that your greatest victories came not from destroying your enemies, but from making them into friends. That is the human way of war. That is why you will always win in the end." The recording equipment clicked off. The interview was over, but Jake knew the real work was just beginning. Humanity had become the guardians of galactic peace. Now they had to prove they were worthy of that responsibility.